Hello, I'm Andy King, technical editor of Good Woodworking magazine, and today we're going to do a little bit of work on basic workshop rotation with your machinery. So we're now going to start a bit of sawing, but the problem is, obviously with the cameras set up the way they are, I'll be machining the wrong way around. So this is the joys of having wheels on your kit. Look, you just spin it round. How simple is that? So we'll just spin it round so we can get in a better position for the cameras, and then we can get on with just some basic machines. Of course, dust extraction always helps. Okay, so what we've got now is we're set up for doing some ripping. So we need to basically move this fence back out of the way so we can get the timber through. If your timber's too wide, you have to take it off, obviously, but in this situation, as long as we've got enough to slide through, they can stay in just to get out of the way, just while we work. Fence. Now, you may find certain fences don't give you this option. You may find you've got a fence that goes right the way through like that. Now that is fine in itself. The biggest problem you've got is when you put natural timber through, it's got a tendency to bind. So as it binds, it gets very difficult because it is trapped at the back. It frees up stresses within the timber and you find a few problems. So ideally, you should be looking to pull your fence back so that it gives you enough room to push the timber through. So about halfway, just around about halfway mark, just slightly beyond. And then as the timber comes through, it doesn't get trapped at the back of the blade. And as you push it through, it all becomes clear of the cut. Obviously the riving knife keeps it all apart, but it still can bind. So you need to be making sure you give yourself enough room through. With the saw itself, what you will find, depending on what you're looking at, I mean, the principle is you need to be giving yourself clearance here so that you're not going to get your fingers underneath. So it needs to be about sort of 10 mil really, 8 to 10 mil there. But also the problem you've got is clearing the gullet on the actual teeth. So you'll see a lot of saw manufacturers will tell you ours will cut 80 mil, whatever, which is fine, but when you've got 80 mil up there, what you tend to find is that's at the top of the tooth, which is all well and good, but you've got no clearance for the gullet. Ideally, any timber should be clearing up to that point there. So anything beyond that is really not doing the saw any favours because it's clogging all the time because the gullets can't clear out properly until they go right down through the bottom of the saw. So they want to be clearing up through. Again, you'll find some people will tell you drop the blade down if you're doing thinner materials, and that corresponds with that as well because the actual crown guard will come down with it, so it's safer obviously for timber coming underneath the crown guard. But also you'll find that in dropping it, what you end up with is a more of a shallow sweep of the blade coming through the work. It's not so much of a downward thrust onto the timber, so it can give a cleaner cut, especially on sheet materials. So it's just a little sort of tip, I suppose, that you can actually work on if you feel it's beneficial. So basically, crown guard is on. We're roughly in the right sort of neck of the woods as to where we want to be. Height-wise, you've got plenty of blade sticking through. Maybe just drop it down slightly. And of course the other thing you need to check is squareness of the blade to the table. So obviously you just need to check your blade for square because you don't want to end up putting your timber through and finding out the blade's slightly out, because it means then all your timber then is slightly out of square and it means you've got to plane it all up again. You've got to take more timber off than you intended to do to get it back to square. So just a little check, that's all it is. It takes seconds, but always worth doing. Okay, that's set for 3 rips. So hopefully that will give us most of the components we need out of one piece, and I've got one more piece there. Here's what I cut earlier, as they say. So, okay, safety first, of course. So, on with the earphones and the goggles. Not forgetting the push stick. extra check to make sure everything's up tight. Count the fingers. You don't want to be feeding excessively quick, let the machine do the work. If you feel that they start to struggle, you just ease off a little bit as they do. What you'll also notice when I was machining then was I wasn't stood here in front of it, stand to the side. Now the reason being, with the best will in the world, you know, you'd like to think everything's going to work, your crane guy's going to stop it flipping up, your riving knot's going to stop it trapping. If you do get kicked back and you're stood here, it can be dangerous. Well, especially where it's going to hit to start with. But not only that, I've known people apparently where you've had splits, and you see these sort of things at college where they're working timber and it's split on them as well, and you get the split goes back and you've seen them pierced right the way through. Very dangerous. So ideally, whenever working on a machine, it's a better position to be in actually. You stand at the back, behind to the side of the machine, so if it does kick back, it's going to go that way or up over it. Hopefully it'll miss you. But also it means you can get a nice solid push up against the fence. If you're here, the tendency is it can do that as it goes through the cut. Just here, you can just center hand on it, just nice gentle feed. So in actual fact, you're probably pushing more on a diagonal rather than straight through the saw. It gives you a bit more pressure, a bit more control, nice clean cutting. Okay, so we're at a stage now where we need to be looking at what we're going to do next in the way of dimensioning. Which now means cut into component length sizes, or do we go straight to the planer? So these are our 4 components, which will soon become 8. So now we're going to look at these and think, right, okay, they're invariably all going to be cut roughly in half. And they're all good sizes that you can actually work on the planer thicknesser and on the spindle moulder quite safely. They're not that short, you know, they've got good sizes. So I don't really want to be putting that through if I can help it, because you can check down through, and although that's pretty straight in both directions, always easier to keep it in an even shorter length, especially on planers that got reasonably short beds on them. If you find yourself you've got a planer like a big jointer, much the better, because then you can get your longer timbers over. And of course, this is a short project, but if you're doing a standard house door, for argument's sake, you're looking at timbers 7 feet long by the time you're allowing for the horns. So you really want a planer with long beds on it, and invariably you need good solid straight timber. So it's sort of 6 or 1/2 dozen of the others to what you want to do in that respect. For me, I always try and keep it down to component sizes as much as possible, unless, as I say, I'm doing short stuff, and I'll try and, you know, add it all up together to give me a better look at it. Okay, as we've got reasonably shortish components to work with, I'm now going to rip these 2 down to make the door stock, which is going to be about 30mm finished, 30mm sawn down to about 25mm finish. So I've set the saw up accordingly. Now, hopefully, as I said before, this little bit of shake, call it what you will, in the middle, hopefully that will go when I rip it. That'll be on the waste side. So we'll just do that now, and then we'll go from there. as you can see, it's got rid of it. So I've now got good timber all the way through now, nice solid timber. So we can work with that straight away for the door styles now. So I'll just rip the other one down to the rails. Okay, now we're ready to get dimension lengths and then off to the planer thicknesser.